Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome to my crochet story where I share with you two things that I love, teaching and crochet. First, let me say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. If you're new to my channel, please consider looking at some of my other videos, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and then look for the bell with the little hugs on the side that notifies you every time I upload content. Now, today's video is all about my new series on one hat a month. Now, what that means is I'm going to be sharing with you once a month one of my own hat pattern designs. Now, I love making hats. I don't care what time of the year it is. It can be summer, spring, fall, winter. I just like making hats. So I thought what better time than right now, the month of May, to get a head start on making hats for this coming fall and winter. So if I share one hat a month with you, you have the time to make one, two, or however many you like of the pattern that I share with you, so that come August, September, you'll already have a nice collection of hats to wear yourself, to give as a gift, or share with a friend. It's totally up to you. Now, you may not like all the hat patterns that I share with you, and that's fine because we are all different. But I do hope that you will at least try each pattern that I release each month. Give it a try. You might not, you might like it. Never know. So for the month of May, I have chosen to kick off this series with my Flying High beanie. Now, it only comes with 2 or 3 stitches. We're going to start with a single crochet brim in the back loop, and then once we get that built and attached, we're going to move on up into this really nice little feather stitch. That's why I called it Flying High. You know, we need wings to fly. And that will be the main portion of our hat here because it will be the body. And then we'll finish off the crown with a nice half double crochet decrease to bring it to the center and finish off the top. Now, I am not a big fan of pom-poms on my beanies, but that doesn't mean you can't add one if you so choose whenever you get finished with it. Now, you're going to need some Aran weight or 4-weight yarn. I used Red Heart Super Saver, but you can use any 4-weight that you might have. I used a size I. This is a Furls Redwood hook. You can use any brand of eye hook that you like. Now, this is a 20-inch beanie. If you want it larger, then I would suggest going up a hook size. If you want it smaller, go down a hook size. It's totally up to you. You're also going to need a pair of scissors in which to cut your yarn, and then a tapestry needle to sew in your ends. So, if you're ready to see how this little beanie comes together, gather your materials, or just sit back and watch and see if you're going to like the beanie. I'll be with you in just a moment. Alright, so for this beanie, I am going to be using Red Heart Super Savers. This is a stripe. It's called the Sutherland, and I chose it because I love the shades of blues, a little bit of greens in here, and sometimes it even goes to this very nice golden, light golden. Maybe you might want to even call it goodness, I don't even know what you'd call it. I'd call it a very dull light yellow, but anyway, I do like this colorway for this hat. It is 100% acrylic. It is one of the softer skeins of Red Heart Super Savers. It's very, as you can tell, squishy. Now, I lost the band on it, but I did look it up on Red Heart's website to get you the correct name. It has 216 yards or 215 meters, and this will be more than enough to make the beanie that we're going to be looking at today. So, to get started, I'm going to go ahead and pull me out a little bit of yarn here. Alrighty, I think that ought to be enough. Now, depending on the size of the hat that you're going to make will determine the number of ribs that you're going to make in the ribbing of the hat, because this hat is built from the bottom up. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over. You can, any way that you wish to put your yarn on your hook, do so. And I'm going to chain 10 chains. Eight, 9, and 10. And then I'm going to put a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Remember that this loop on your hook does not count as anything. So there is my first chain, and there's my second chain, and I'm going to put it in this third loop or back loop of each chain. And then I'm just going to put one single crochet in each back loop of the chain until I get to the end. Now, if you don't like working in the back loop, you can always do it by working into the top loop of your chain. But I just like this because here in a little bit, whenever we get our brim built, we're going to have to join it, and I like to have something a little more substantial than just one loop to work with. Pick up all of that. Now, if you are a person that likes a fold over brim, all I would suggest is that you just double the length of your chain. We chain 10, so you would chain 20, and then just follow the same procedure that we're getting ready to do here. Alright. I don't like the look of that chain. Something's wrong there. Figure out what it was. It had a loop that was sitting funny. Go back in here and see. Yeah, now she's looking right. Okay. Try to go in the back loop here. This starting chain is always kind of difficult to find. Then we're going to chain one and turn our work. Now from here on out, every time we build a row, we are going to work in the back loop of each one of our stitches. So when you look at your stitches from the top, the loop of the stitch that's facing you is the front loop, and the one that's facing away from you is the back loop. And we are going to work in each of the back loops of each stitch except for the first one and the last one. Now I do this because I always start in the first stitch of the row and I go through both loops. Then I will start the rest of the row with working a single crochet in the back loop of the following stitches. Back loop, and it's going to pull that loop up just a little bit, but that's okay because it will settle down once you're finished with the row. And then when I get to the last stitch of the row, I'm going to again go through both stitches. Now I do this for two reasons. One is I think it gives it a cleaner edge on both edges. Alright, and then whenever I get ready to turn my brim and start working at the top to build the body of my hat, I have something a little more substantial to grab into, and I don't leave as big of a hole. So chain one, turn your work. Very first stitch, we're going to put go through both loops and put a single crochet. And then starting in the next stitch, we're just going to work in the back loop and make a single crochet. I'm going to do that all the way down. And in the last last stitch again, I'm going to go through both loops and make my single crochet, chain 1, and turn. Now for this particular beanie, I want the headband, or this brim here, to measure about 20 inches. And in order for that to work, I'm going to need to make about 56 to 60 rows. I'll get it out to 56 and then I'll stop and measure, and if I need to add a few more rows, I will. Now for me, it's not ever an exact science as to how many rows I have to put on my brim, because number one, it always depends on the hook that I'm using. It also depends on the stretchiness of the yarn that I'm working with. Now this doesn't seem to be too stretchy, but it does have a little bit of give. And then too, as always, our tension comes into play as well whenever we're working up our stitches. So I'm going to continue working these ribbed rows for my brim, doing exactly what I started out with showing you. And I'll meet you back here in just a little bit after I have enough ribs that measure 20 inches. Alright, so you do the same, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. Alright, I ended up having to do 63 rows in order to make my 20 inches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these two edges and we're going to seam them together. I'm going to go this direction here. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And I'm going to bring the other edge up, pull my thread up here just a minute so I can get myself turned around here. Alright, now just as we did before, we're going to go into this very first stitch on the top and the very first stitch on our other edge, and we're going to crochet a single crochet through both of those. And then we are going to look at going through the back loop of the edge that's in front of us and the front loop of the edge that is away from us, and slip stitch. Back loop of the edge that's towards us, the front loop of the edge that is away from us, pull through both of those loops, and then pull through again to make a slip stitch. And we're going to do that all the way down, joining these two edges together. Now I'm going slow here because I want to make sure I get the proper stitches lined up for number 1, and to also give them a nice good even tension with the slip stitches. Okay, we're coming down to our last 2 stitches. Alright, and then here is my last stitch on this edge. Sometimes a little hard to find it, and the last stitch on that edge. And I'm going to make a single crochet there at the top. Alright. And then whenever you open this up, there is your nice ribbing. Okay, it kind of made that little rib to match with the rest of them there. Now this will settle down once you finish up with the hat, and we will put this tail in whenever we get ready to finish off the hat. Alright, now we are ready to start with the body of our hat. And what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 half double crochet in the top of each of these rows. Alright, now we're going to put a half double crochet in the top of the first 10 rows, and then we're going to put 2 in the next row. Then we're going to do 10 more and put 2 in the next one. We're going to go from 63 stitches to 69. And the best way to do that is to do an increase for every 10, which will give us an additional 6 stitches, and we'll have a little bit left over, but that's okay. We just want to go from 63 to 69. So I'm going to go ahead and get my yarn added here. Now, we finished with our single crochet. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to start by putting a half double crochet in this very first row of the hat. And then we're going to put a half double crochet in the very next row, the top, half double crochet in the next row at the top, half double crochet in the next row, the top. So how many we created so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9 and 10. And then this next stitch we're going to put 2 half double crochets. That gives us our increase. And we're going to do that again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Get some more yarn here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and then 2 in the next stitch. And you'll repeat that process all the way around until we get back to here. And if you would, or I will, I'm going to come right back in here. We're going to stop just a minute, count our stitches to make sure we have enough, and then we'll continue on with building the body of our hat. Alright, so I'm down to my last few rows here. I only need 9 more stitches because up to this point I've stopped and counted and I have 60 stitches. So we're going to finish out with 61, 62, 63, 64. Oh, come on. 65, 66, 67, 68, and 69. Alright, now remember this was our chain 1 to get started in doing this row. So we're not going to chain into this one or slip stitch into this one. We're going to slip right in there to that slip stitch right into our first half double crochet that we made. Alright, so that is the first row of our hat. Alrighty. Now, we're going to go ahead and chain 1. We are not going to turn our work. We're going to go right back into this first stitch and make a half double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and skip the next stitch and put a half double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, put a half double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to do that all the way around. Skip 1, half double crochet. Get some more yarn out here. Alright, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet, and you're going to do that all the way around, and I'll meet you back here the last couple of stitches and talk about how we're going to join. Alright, so I'm coming down to the last few stitches. Chain 1, skip 1, do my half double crochet, chain 1, and join with a slip stitch into this very first half double crochet of my row. I think I went in the I went into the loop there. There's my half double crochet. Alright, so there's my second row. Alright, to begin this next row, we're going to chain 1 and put a half double crochet right back into this first stitch. Now, the rest of this row is going to be built by using the feather stitch. And the feather stitch, if I get my yarn wrapped around here in just a minute, there we go. So in order to make the feather stitch, we're going to yarn over our hook and go into this very first chain 1 space and pull up a loop. We have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and go down below to this half double crochet that we skipped in the previous row. We're going to go through that, pull up a loop, and pull it up to the height of our other loops. Then we're going to yarn over and go into this next chain 1 space and pull up a loop. That now gives us 2, 4, 6, 7 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 loops. And then we're going to lock it down with a chain. Now that creates our first feather. Then we're going to go start another feather. We're going to go right back into this chain 1 space and pull up a loop. 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, go into the, into this chain 1 space here. We're going to go into this half double crochet that we skipped in the previous row and pull up a loop. Now we have 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space and pull up a loop. Yarn's fighting me today. Gives us 7 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 7 loops and chain 1 to lock it down. And as you notice, it creates a little feather here. Let's do that again. Yarn over, go back into that chain 1 space and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the half double crochet we skipped in the previous row and pull up a loop. Gives us 5 loops. Yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 7 loops, and then chain 1 to lock it down. And that's what we're going to do all the way across. Yarn over, go back into that same loop, chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go down to the previous row, go into that half double crochet we skipped, pull up a loop, there's 5, yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 7 and then lock it down. And we're going to continue that all the way around until we get back to these last couple of stitches here, and I'll show you how we'll finish out the row. Alright, we are coming down now to the end of our row here, so I'm going to finish out these last couple of stitches with you. Gotta get some more yarn here. Put that up there. Alright, so I'm ready to go back. In, pull up a loop, go down to the chain 1 space, pull up a loop, go into the next, chain 1 space. What I did a minute ago was that skipped half double crochet and chain 1. Go right back into that space, pull up a loop, go into the half double crochet 1 row down, come up, go into the next chain 1 space and chain 1. Alright, one more time, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, chain 1, and then into this same stitch here we're just going to do a half double crochet. Alright, after completing our last feather stitch, we've made our chain 1, we're just going to slip stitch right into the top of our beginning half double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now, right back into this chain 1 space here is where we're going to put our first half double crochet for the row. Then in the next chain 1 space is where we will start our feather stitches. So yarn over, go into the chain 1 and pull up a loop, yarn over. Now, in the previous row we always had a half double crochet in which to drop down and put our next loop into, but this time we don't. We're just going to have these little holes that were created when we made our feather stitch from the previous row. So after we've done our first yarn over, our second yarn over, we're going to go down into that space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, yarn over, then yarn over and pull through all 7 loops and chain 1. Now, making our feather stitches just like we did in the other row, in the first row, yarn over, go back into the chain 1 space, yarn over, we're going to go down to the next row and go through the space that was created and pull up a loop. Then yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 7 loops. Nothing new on the feather stitch. Yarn over, go back into the chain 1 space and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go down into this space from the previous row and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through all 7 loops and then chain 1. And we are creating now another row of feather stitches. One more time, yarn over, go back into the chain 1 space, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go down into the space that was created from the feather stitch before, pull up a loop. yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops, chain 1. And you'll continue that all the way around until we get back here to the beginning. See you in just a minute. Alright, I've just completed my last feather stitch, and I'm getting ready to join into the first, or into that very first half double crochet. Oh wait, I forgot to do my chain 1, and then there she is. Slip stitch into the top of that half double crochet from the beginning of the row. Chain 1, and again turn our work. And you're going to repeat the row we just completed until you reach the 14th row. So get us going here. Yarn over, going to put our half double crochet into this first chain 1 space, and then into the next chain 1 space we start our first feather stitch. So yarn over, go into the chain 1 space, yarn over, and look for your little space down here. Go in there, pull it up a loop, yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space. Didn't get any yarn out, it's getting a little tight there. Pull up a loop, that makes 7 loops, and pull through all 7 loops, which can be kind of hard on this first one. There we go. And then make our chain 1 space. Now from here on out, you may find that it's a little difficult to find where this opening is here, but if you look for this long leg that you created, right in there is where you're going to go in whenever you're making that long down loop. So let's do this next stitch. Yarn over, go back into the same chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and right here next to this long stitch from the feather below is where we're going to go in to find that hole that we need to use. Yarn over, go into the next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, 7 loops on our hook, and we'll go through all 7 loops. Here we go, there we go. And then chain 1. Sorry about that. Yarn over, go back in the same chain 1 space, pull up a loop, go down and find that long feather, go in between there, pull up a loop, yarn over, go to the next chain 1 space, yarn over, and pull through all 7 loops. Chain 1. And then you'll just continue this pattern for the next, let's see, I said to row 14. Alright, so we'll just continue making our feather stitches. Same row pattern through row 15. And I'll meet you back when I have finished row 15, whoops, in just a few minutes. Alright, I hope I didn't confuse you. I know I said I wanted you to stop at row 14 and then I kept saying 15. Either one would have been fine, I mean, because the pattern is the same. I did stop at row 14. I've already joined with the slip stitch, chained 1, and turned. Now we are finished with the feather stitch. So now we need to transition from this feather stitch to the top of the beanie, and this is how we're going to do it. So after you've chained 1 into this very first chain 1 space, we're going to do a long half double crochet, and what that means is you're going to yarn over just like you would for your half double crochet, but instead of going right into this space, we're going to go 1 row down pull up a loop, bring it up to the height of your half double crochet, and pull through all 3 loops. And then into the top of your feather stitch here, right there, we're going to put a half double crochet. And then to this next chain 1 space, we're going to yarn over, do a long half double crochet. Oh, excuse me, my nose is itching. And then the next stitch, which is the top of our feather stitch, we're just going to do a half double crochet. Into this chain 1 space here, we're going to do a long half double crochet, and then a half double crochet into the top of our feather stitch. And that's what we're going to do all the way around for this row. Alternate between a long half double crochet and then a half double crochet. Again, long double crochet, which is made going into the stitch just below, and then in the top of your feather stitch you'll do a regular half double crochet. Alright, and I'll meet you back around here in just a few minutes. Alright, I've just completed my last half double crochet in the top of my feather stitch here. So now I'm going to do my long double crochet into the chain 1 space. Oops, didn't go down far enough. And yes, we'll join with a slip stitch right into the very first half double crochet from the previous row. Now we will not be turning anymore, and starting from this point forward we're going to start pulling in the top to finish out the crown. So what we're going to do now is we're going to yarn over and chain 1. We're going to go right back into this stitch with a half double crochet, and we're going to put 3 more half double crochets for a total of 4 half double crochets here across the top. So that was 1. Then we're going to do 3. Whoop, whoop. Here we go. 4. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. There's 4. And now we're going to do 2 half double crochets together, or a half double crochet decrease, however you want to look at it. And so how I do this is I go into the front of this first stitch, and then I go into the back, pull up a loop. Then I go into the back of the next loop and pull up a loop. 3 loops on my hook, just like I would have if I was doing a half double crochet, and pull through all 3 loops. And if you look at it, it is not too much different from your other half double crochets, and it will blend in really well. Let's do that again. We're going to do 4 half double crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. Now we're going to do that half double crochet, 2 together, or a decrease, however you wish to look at it. Alright, so we're going to go into the front part of this first stitch and pull up a loop. Then we're going to go into the back loop of the next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, pull it through, and I have a half double crochet. And if you look back from the beginning here, you can go along there and see that this is where our first half double crochet 2 together happened. But again, like I said, it's really hardly noticeable up against the other stitches. Alright, one more time and then I'm going to turn you loose. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then half double crochets 2 together, In the front stitch of the next stitch, pull up a loop, back loop of the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then draw one loop through all three to give us that half double crochet look. Alright, so this is what you're going to do all the way around. Now, since we've continuously had 69 stitches, we will not end up with an even number of stitches at the end. So if you'll meet back with me, say about the last 4 or 5 stitches, I'll show you how we'll take care of that in just a minute. Alright, so I'm down to my last 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, pull 2 together, then that leaves me 3 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3. Now you can continue with the same pattern, it doesn't matter. Just I know that whenever I'm not going to have enough to have an even oops, I keep wanting to do a single crochet 2 together. There we go. I like to kind of space it out a little bit better so I don't have such a large gap. But like I said, you still could do the 1, 2, 3, 4, put 2 together, and then just end up with 2 single crochets there at the end. 1, 2, which didn't help me any at all to go early, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish out with my half double crochets. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the very beginning. Alright, now hopefully you can see just a little bit of a curvature, starting to pull it in just a little bit. Well, this time we're going to go with another round, except instead of every 4th stitch, or after the 4th stitch, we're going to do this now after every 3rd stitch. So chain 1, go back into that same stitch that you slip stitched into, make your first half double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, and now over the next 2 we're going to do our half double crochet decrease. So into the first one, in the first one pull up a loop, into the back loop of the next one pull up a loop, and there's our decrease. Alright, so remember this time we're doing 3. So here is 1, 2, 3, and then decrease, again, 1, 2, that was 1, 2, 3, decrease. Alright, and then just continue that pattern all the way around, and I'll meet you back here within 4 or 5 stitches. Alright, I'm back around to the beginning of my round here, and I've just completed let's see, let's just take it apart and see what I just completed. Alright, 1, 2, there it is, 1, 2, 3. This will be the 3rd one. And then I will put 2 together. And since there's only 2 left, I will just go ahead and finish out with 2 half double crochets. And join to the top of the row or round with a slip stitch. Alright, yep, definitely getting some pull in there, aren't we? Alright, now again we're going to do another row of decreases. This time it will be after every 2nd half double crochet. So we'll chain 1, Go right back into this first stitch here, make a half double crochet, half double crochet into the next stitch, and now we'll do our two together. Right, 1, 2, and again 2 together. Alright, so you know what you're doing by now. I'm going to go do it one more time with you, then I'm going to turn you loose. Alright, see you back around here at the beginning in just a minute. Alright, I'm back. I've just made my last half double crochet 2 together. I have 3 left, so I'm just going to finish out the round with half double crochets. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. And attach to the top there. Yep, she's coming close together there, isn't she? Alright, chain 1. This time we're going to do 1 half double crochet and then 2 half double crochets together. 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 together. And this round's going to go pretty quick, so I'm just going to continue working with you. Up. I can't tell you the number of times in doing this crown here off camera that I've tried to do a single crochet 2 together, because it's just a little more natural for that to happen. It's not often that you will see a half double crochet crown. I just like it, especially when you're using a I don't know that I'd call the feather stitch a fancy stitch, but I just want something that's a little more of a complementary stitch to the feather stitch, but yet doesn't take away from the feather stitch. See, look at there what I did. Was not paying attention. I have to fix my hat here in a minute. There we go. Should be coming up to the end of the round here in just a sec. Oh, there she is right there. Look at there. Alright. Alright, now at this point you would think that we would just go ahead and do a half double crochet decrease all the way around, but I choose to at this point switch over to the single crochet, and I'm going to do 1 round of single crochets into each loop. So I'm going to chain 1, go right back into this stitch here with a single crochet, and into the next stitch with a single crochet, and just put single crochets in each stitch all the way around, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Alright, we're back around to the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch in here. Now what I want you to see is by putting in just a round of single crochets, it helped to take and tighten in the crown of your hat even further. Now at this point, what I typically do is I go ahead and stop and pull a chain up, and then get me some yarn, pull out a length or two, and then just go ahead and pull that through. And at this point I finish off by with my yarn needle to go ahead and cinch this up. Now at this point you have a decision to make, and I normally make my decision based on the brim of my hat. Now if you'll come back down here where we joined the two edges together, you'll look to see that on one side your ridges are not quite as defined as on the other side. And it's just totally up to you which side you want to be your right side. Now for me, I really can't tell that there's a rib basically missing right here. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, who's going to be looking that close? But if you are a little OCD like I am, and you want that rib there, then I suggest that you turn the seam outward. Here, let me go. Alright, so that you have the direct definition of that ridge that was created whenever we put our two edges together. It's totally up to you. It doesn't matter. I'm going to leave my rib out. Alright? So with that said then, that means if this is my right side, I want to work on the inside of my hat for just a minute to close it up. I'm going to pull her back around here. Grab my yarn and a yarn needle. And it looks like excuse me, didn't mean to talk with a needle in my mouth. Probably didn't need to pull out that much yarn, but that's alright. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here where I tied off, and I'm going to go underneath, behind, and in front of each post of my single crochet and pull my yarn through. Behind and in front, behind and in front of each one of these posts all the way around. Again, in front and behind, in front and behind. And you'll be able to tell here in just a minute where you started. You see, there's my little spot that I tied off. And I'm going to go past this just a little few stitches because it'll gather it up. Right, and then we just want to close that. Alright, now you'll notice I left my finger in there closing that up because I want to make sure that this little edge here that I'm going to create stays on the inside of my hat. Alright, so there we are. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my needle and I'm just going to go back and forth across the top here. Go from one side to the other, back and forth. Center down. Go again. Center down. And I'll just rotate around a little bit. There's no exact spot or counting the stitches as to how I'm going to rotate, pulling this tighter and tighter. So I want to make sure I have a good closed knot up here at the top. And I think one more will do it. I told you I think I got a little bit too much yarn there pulled out, but that's okay because I can use it somewhere else. I think that pulled back through from somewhere. I'm going to come right over here, and this one will be my last one. Alright, and then I'm just going to tie her off. Come through here. Find me just a couple of stitches to knot up. Doesn't need a lot. And one more. I like doing things in threes. Like when I'm hiding my tails, if I've got the room for it. Tying off knots if I've got the yarn for it. Alright, find my needle here. And I have a tail down here at the bottom that I need to get sewn in. There it is. And I'm going to do that just by going right up here through this seam that I made. Just go up a couple of stitches and come back down a couple of stitches. Go right out there. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to go right back up just one more time. And there we go. And there you have it. Nice little beanie there. Now the body of the beanie is very nice and thick. It'd be good for really, really cold winter days. Has a lot of give and stretch to it. Has a nice texture, feels really nice, and has a little bit of a bunch up here at the top that I kind of like on my beanies. Now, if you wanted this a little more flat, then what I would suggest you do before you do the row of single crochets is maybe go ahead and do your row of half double crochet decrease, 2 together. You know, I stopped at the 1 and then 2 together, but I like for there to be a little bit of give up here on the top of my beanie, and so that's the reason why I stopped when I did. But there she is. There's her top, and here's her side. And like I said, if you do like to be able to fold up your brim, all you would need to do is just double your brim stitches so that you can roll it up, which would make a nice roll-up beanie too. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I know I have enjoyed sharing it with you. If you like this tutorial, please be sure to leave a like and share it out. There might be someone else out there that's looking for a different type of beanie pattern. I really would appreciate it. Until next time, please be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, could be your light they need to see. Love you all. Bye.